So today I'm trying something I've never done before, which is knitting lace. I'm very excited because I have been knitting for quite a while, but somehow I haven't gotten around to trying lace yet. And I've just been thinking about why, and I guess the reason is that it doesn't usually go with my personal style very well. So it happens quite a bit for me that I'm browsing Ravelry or Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, and I see a lace knitting item that I am intrigued by, and I immediately think, oh, this would be so fun to make. And then I kind of take a step back and I'm like, but would I want this in my wardrobe? That way I always end up putting all the lace items on the back burner and like keeping them somewhere stored away in my favorites and thinking, I'll make this someday maybe. So I haven't gotten around to trying it yet, but I found a great workaround, which is I'm making a gift knit. So I'm knitting this for my mom, and I should probably mention what pattern I'm making. I'm making the Poet Scarf by Sari Nordlund, which I think this is like a series, so she has like sweaters and stuff like that with the same design. So we'll see if I enjoy it. Maybe I'll make another one. But I've decided on the scarf for now for two reasons. First of all, my mom likes wearing little scarves, especially in the spring or in the autumn. So I'm thinking if I can give this to her relatively soon, she might still get some wear out of it for the season. And the second one is that I thought a scarf would be a more attainable project. So I'm not necessarily worried that I won't be able to figure it out, but I'm more thinking I haven't tried it, maybe it's not that fun, maybe it takes me a little more time, so I just want an item that feels like I can get it done, not, you know, an entire sweater or something complicated like that where I would actually need to invest a ton of time. For the yarn, I have gotten the recommended yarn because I didn't have anything at home that I could have used. So this is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color, wait a second, probably says it somewhere, in the color Putty. And this is the Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Cream. So I was trying to find something that matches the Pure Silk, but for the Soft Silk Mohair there wasn't any color called Putty as well, so I tried to find something that looks close to it, and I don't know, I feel like on the picture online they look more similar, not really the same. This is a lot more white. But I've already started a tiny bit on the scarf, and I would say that when I hold them together they look basically like what I was going for color-wise. So even though the skeins of yarns don't necessarily match very well, I would say that the color on this is pretty good. It's working out really well so far. It's actually a lot easier than I thought. I would say that I picked a good time to try knitting lace because all of the techniques that I used, I have used in other items already. So this has like an I-cord along the edge, which I've done before. I mean, knit and purse stitches obviously, and I don't know, I've knitted increases and decreases of various kinds. I've knitted yarn overs, so none of this is necessarily new to me as an individual technique, just the putting it together is kind of a new thing that I'm adding on, which I guess is good because it's not that difficult. I've already created some of these little gaps in the scarf, which I guess is what you're supposed to do. It just feels a little bit weird to consciously make holes in my knitting. We'll see how it goes. I will say that so far I haven't really felt like putting on a video or a movie or something in the background, but usually I have something on in the background while I'm knitting. But this, I think I should probably at least get through the first chart and then figure out how I feel about doing something else at the same time, because I don't want to overcomplicate it for myself, and I feel like this is something where it's annoying if you make a mistake. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to staring at my tablet for now and try to get some more rows done and see how this works out for me. some progress on this. So this is where we are at now. I managed to get through all of the first chart yesterday and start on the second chart, and now I've done some more rows over the last half hour. I will say I'm having a lot of fun with this. Probably the most fun I've ever had while knitting something. I worked on this for most of yesterday. I will say yesterday was kind of a weird day because I had been traveling a bit, I had somebody visit me, I had been visiting other people, I hadn't gotten enough sleep the few days before, and it was also a holiday, so I couldn't really go anywhere. So I was just at home trying to get through the day without taking a nap, so I could go to bed early and get a good night of sleep. So I had a bit of a headache and I was a bit, in a weird mood. So I wasn't consistently working on this. It was more like I was working on it for half an hour and then staring at a screen for half an hour and then making myself food and then working on this again. So it wasn't the most attentive, but I think there aren't any mistakes in it, which it's really nice here that you catch mistakes so early, because if you make a mistake you will catch it in the next round definitely, because things will just not match up anymore. There are these like stockinette lines that are running through the entire piece, like on the back side, and I feel like I'm not sure if I did make a mistake there and I just didn't notice somehow, or if it is due to the lace, but some of the stitches are like weirdly big on it, or they just look wrong. But I think it might be because the lace in these spots is right next to it, because it's more than one spot. So I'm assuming it's just because of the pattern, and I hope it'll block out because it's kind of bothering me. But we'll see, I guess. Maybe not block out perfectly, but might make it better at least. In general, I'm very excited to block this piece because I've heard that the knitting for olive yarns soften up quite a bit, and I also think it would be really good for the stitches to, relax a little. I will say that I would probably go down in needle size if I were to do this again, because as I've explained, I usually have a bit of a looser gauge than what is required in most patterns. And while this is not like bothering me for a scarf, I feel like the areas where there's not lace but like stockinette or this moss stitch, I guess it's called, I feel like they could be a bit tighter for it to look a little neater. But yeah, that might also be an issue that will be fixed if I block it. Another thing about this pattern is that I have no idea what's going on at any time, really. At times it seems entirely random to me what's going to happen in the next round, so you have to be watching the chart very closely. So for other charts, usually I look at the row that's to come and then I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this. While here I have to like count every single stitch to keep up with the chart, which is quite engaging. It's just confusing to me, I guess, because I like to know what's going on in my patterns, or usually I do know. I also self-draft, so I don't know if I have a pattern, I'm trying to figure out why the designer is doing what they're doing and what result that is creating. For this, I don't know, Sari Nordlund right now just seems like a magician to me, because I have no idea why me doing a pearl here and a knit here and a yarn over there and a knit two together over here is creating the kind of fabric I'm creating. I'm guessing that the yarn overs kind of do the holes in the lace, and the knit two together and slip slip knit stitches like create the sloping of the stockinette parts. But generally I would not know how to write a pattern like that, and that's intriguing to me. I want to find out more, and I want to see if by the end of this I have more of an idea why what I'm doing is creating this. But in general, lace is a very intriguing thing to do. I might want to do more lace. This is really cool, actually. So I guess I'm gonna try to finish the second chart. I have to work it twice, but get at least through the first repeat. And yeah, I think from then on it's relatively straightforward, because right now I think I've done the first like full pattern repeat, kind of. So this here, this like part in the middle is kind of what is going to be repeated throughout the pattern. So I think I've done all the stitches I need to know now, except the decreases, but I'll be able to figure those out and now it's just straightforward following what's going on here. So if I do it like 7 more times, maybe I'll figure out why what I'm doing is creating this scarf. Good morning, you skipped a few days. It is a few days later and I have made quite some progress. So this is what my scarf looks like right now. We're almost halfway done. So I've worked through all of the second chart, and then you're supposed to work the second chart again and just work the pattern repeat in it twice, which I'm also almost done with. And I can report that some things have cleared up to me when it comes to lace knitting. So I said earlier that it was a bit random to me what was happening in the next row. Like I could never figure out why I was actually doing what I was doing. And I think the reason for that was that I was looking at the pattern wrong. Well, the first time you work the second chart, you only have to do the pattern repeat once. So I wasn't really separating the pattern repeat as a different section in my head. So I was just looking at my chart and I was like, okay, now do 4 knit stitches, now do a yarn over, now do the 2 together, and I was always like confused and very close to my chart. But now that that I'm working through the second chart a second time and I have to do the pattern repeat twice, I've had to, in my head, like consciously separate that as a different section of the pattern. So now I realize what's happening and how the design is created, which is very helpful because now I can usually get away with just looking at the chart for the first half of the first pattern repeat, and then I can figure out the rest from there. I still have the chart always open next to me to make sure. And I have also put these 2 additional stitch markers in. So the pattern tells you to put these 2 stitch markers on the side end so you can separate your acorn edge. And that's relatively helpful. I don't know if it's necessary. It's just like if you don't want to pay attention when you're hitting the last 4 stitches, you can put them in. But I have now added these 2 additional stitch markers in the middle to separate my pattern repeats and my increase section, and I found that helped me a lot with like clearing up in my head what was happening there. Also, it's quite helpful to catch mistakes because you realize you're off when you hit your stitch marker. So I still have to sit in silence while I'm making this. If I put a movie on or if I have someone on a video call, it's too distracting because I constantly have to count like all the time. So I just can't focus on both things at once. I've now resorted to just putting some music on in the background while I work on this, which is also nice. It's just good to know that this is not a like easy grab and go project that you just work on while you also do other things, because otherwise I will make mistakes, and it's kind of fine because, as I said, you catch the mistake relatively quickly. So within the next 20 stitches you realize, oh, there was a mistake. But still, the frogging back is a little bit annoying. So whenever I do make a mistake and I have to go back, I do it stitch by stitch. So I will unravel, like take 1 stitch off my needle, unravel it and put it on the other needle, because there's so many like yarn overs and stitches that would just, you know, unravel and you wouldn't see them anymore when you unravel more than a stitch at a time. So for the other problem I was having in regards to the stockinette lines on the back being a little bit wonky, I still haven't really figured out how to remedy that. So every time there is yarn overs really close to this stockinette line, so when you create a little hole right next to it, the stitches on it will look like too large or very wonky, and it's not a problem per se, it just kind of interrupts the flow of the line and I don't enjoy it very much. But yeah, I've now realized that's no mistake of mine, that's just the way it looks, and I guess if I was paying more attention to it I could probably try to pull the yarn a little tighter in those spots. So if you're just studying on this, I would recommend maybe paying attention to these stitches specifically and making sure they're tight enough. But I am hoping it'll block out at least a little bit. I'm very excited to measure this because I truly don't know how my gauge is looking, because I didn't do a gauge swatch. I was just too lazy for it and I thought it wouldn't be necessary for a scarf. Anyways, this is supposed to be 30 centimeters wide after I'm done with my last increase. And the finished object is supposed to be a meter long, so I'm guessing I should then have 50 centimeters. And I mean, I'm in the ballpark of it, I assume, but I know that my gauge is usually a little loose, so I'm assuming it'll be a little larger than that even. And I will also weigh my yarn that I have left over to make sure that I can actually finish this. In general, I would say that this is surprisingly fun to work at, especially considering I can't really have anything on in the background. But I do take a lot of time out of my day to like sit down and consciously work on this. It's so fun, in fact, that this morning I got more yarn delivered to start a second lace knitting project. And for that one I will actually be taking part in a knit along and also make something for myself. So I did find a lace knitting project that fits with my style as well, and that I'm very excited to do. But I'm going to tell you more about that in one of my next project vlogs, I guess. So don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see me make it. Later, and this is where we're at right now. We're well into the decrease section. I'm working the third chart for the second time right now. So you work it the first time to start the decreases, and then you work the pattern repeat twice, and then you work it a second time and only work the pattern repeat once. So that's where I'm at right now, and I have to finish that chart, and then I have one more small chart left for the tip. So I was able to figure out the decreases, as you can see. And they're a slip, slip, purl decrease, which I don't think I've ever done before. It's kind of a funny stitch, a bit annoying to do because it's so fiddly. So you slip 2 stitches as if you would do a slip, slip, knit. And so you slip them knitwise, and then you put them back on the left needle, and then you purl them through the back loop, which it's very annoying to get your needle into the 2 stitches from the back side. But yeah, it's only once like every other row, so I can live with that. Another thing that kind of annoys me a little bit about this, which it's not a problem at all, but I don't know, I've made it a problem in my head, is that for the entire time I did the increase sections, there were 4 of these edge stitches on each side. So 4 stitches for the I-cord here, and then 4 stitches for the I-cord here. And then when you start the decreases, you're supposed to knit one of those edge stitches together with the first stitch of the next section to do the decrease. So that means for the entire decrease section, you have 4 stitches on one side, like you had for the increase section, but you only have 3 stitches on the edge of the other side. So it's not symmetrical anymore, and it's like not visible at all, but inside of my mind it kind of annoys me. Other than that, I don't have many updates. I'm working on it here and there. I think Mother's Day is in about a week, so I definitely have to see that I make some progress on this, because I want to block this and then I want to kind of wear it myself for a few days, because I want to see how I do with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair around my neck, since I haven't really used it before, and it's a really cool yarn. I really like the color selection that I have available, just because there's so many. So I would like to maybe at some point make a sweater out of it, but I want to try first how I react to it before I buy such expensive yarn to make such a big garment. So my plan is to wear this myself for a few days and kind of try it out. And for that I need to finish it relatively soon. I think I shouldn't have any problems doing that. And then I'm excited to block it, see how it blocks out, and I guess it should dry relatively fast because it's mostly silk. and then we're done already. I have gotten better at working on this while also doing something else. So I feel like I'm very acquainted with the pattern now, and I can kind of just glance at it for the start of the row and then figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, and then just do that without looking back at the chart. Technically if I have to, but I will still have the chart open next to me all the time and like look back at it and make sure. So I can now work on this while I also do something else, but mostly I actually don't. So mostly I just have my coffee in the morning and maybe music playing. Not always, sometimes it's actually just quiet, which, I don't know, it's good for my brain, I guess. And I just work on this. Here she is. We're finished. I managed to cast off during a movie a few days ago, and I've since blocked this and let it fully dry. So everything's complete and ready to be wrapped for Mother's Day. And it turned out absolutely beautifully. I really love the result. I really love the design on this. I think it looks so cool. I really loved working with the pattern. It was my first sari nordlund pattern, I believe, and it was very clear, very easy to follow. I mean, it was almost entirely charted, so there's not that much that could go wrong, really, but it was a very cool pattern. In terms of criticisms, I don't really have a ton to say. I have 3 small issues. The first one is one I've already mentioned a couple of times, which is the stockinette lines on the back side. The problem I had with the one stitch that was close to the lace pattern becoming very big and uneven, it blocked out a tiny bit, but not enough for it to not be noticeable anymore. And I'm not sure if there would have been any way to avoid this by me paying closer attention to that specific section. I can't really say, but I think I couldn't have made it look that much better by pulling it tighter. The second thing is that I made a tiny mistake on the I-cord apparently at some point, which is kind of noticeable to me, but I don't think will be noticeable to literally any other person. And then another thing that is not really the pattern's fault, but probably mine, is the fact that my I-cord is very tight. I don't know, I think I have a bit of a different tension when knitting I-cord. I just pull it very tight. I'm not sure why I do that. But I did have a little bit of trouble of getting this straight side to actually lay in a straight line when I was blocking it. And you can still see that when I pull on it, the front of it, or the triangle part, will kind of curl up because the I-cord is tighter than the sections in the middle. So that's, I would say, not optimal. If I were to knit it again, I would try to make the I-cord a little bit looser, but it's also not a huge problem. I think the ways that you would normally wear the scarf, it wouldn't really be noticeable at all. I have already worn this a couple of times during this week just to check how it does as a scarf, which it's not the warmest one obviously, but it still gives you a little bit of something around your neck, which is exactly what I was going for. And also to check how I do with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair around my neck, and see if I would maybe like to make a sweater out of it in the future. And I think I will at some point. I would definitely consider knitting this pattern again. I think it is probably my favorite process knit I've ever done. It was very engaging, it was very fun to do. I wasn't even intending for this to be like my main project, instead I kept coming back to it and it kind of became my main project. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel to see what else I'm making. And I would be very curious to know in the comments if you've also knitted any of the poet designs before, how you found it, and if you have any recommendations for the other poet designs. I'm thinking about maybe looking at the socks at some point, but yeah, I'd be very happy to hear your thoughts on this or any of the other poet projects. And now I'm gonna show you some pretty photos and videos of my scarf, and then it's time to wrap for Mother's Day.